Hi, it's Tim Hagen from Progress Coaching, and welcome to another episode for the Coaching Conversations podcast. Now, we are on Stitcher, we are on iTunes, and multiple different channels. Please check us out. Now, one of the things that you'll get out of our podcast episodes is a lot of content, a lot of strategy. It's not fluff, it's not concept, yet we really want you to engage with the content and let us know your feedback. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. If there's topics you'd love to have us address, we would love to share them with you. Let us know your impact and let us know your feedback. I just led a session with a client of ours, and I'll tell you something, one of the most interesting things that comes into my mind when I think about leadership. We tend to compartmentalize things like feedback, mentorship, coaching. So often we put them in there. And I just had a session with about 4 or 5 questions from very experienced leaders. I'm giving feedback and I'm getting resistance. I'm getting pushback. I'm hearing that now more than ever, even more than 5 years ago. And then we start to label, right? Well, today's employee is different, and probably is. Yet feedback and coaching can serve each other well. Let me give you an example. Let's take feedback. If I give someone feedback saying, John, I really need you to raise your performance as it relates to customers in terms of engagement, asking more questions, smiling more, there's the feedback. Then you can couple it. You can follow it up with a question such as, now hearing that, what are you going to do to successfully put 2 things in action, and what could I do to assist you? Which of the 2 approaches, feedback alone or feedback plus a coaching question or 2, would be suffice or have more merit or more impact? Probably number 2. We also tend to then separate, and I was just talking to an L&D director. Well, we're not ready for coaching because we have a full-blown mentoring program. Nothing wrong with that. Love mentoring. But mentoring is around guiding and advising. Are we to say that a coach shouldn't be mentoring or utilizing mentoring skills, or a mentor couldn't be utilizing coaching skills? Well, of course. So when someone's advising, they might say, well, here's what I would do. I would interview that leader of that department to find out what it's like to work in that department. There's the mentoring. When you hear that, what's your comfort level in doing so, and what could I do to make you more comfortable? There's the coaching question. We have to quit compartmentalizing things, and from a learning and development standpoint, and also from a leadership standpoint. How do we go about intertwining, integrating some of these tactics? Let me give you another example. I report to the president of a publicly traded company, and he is by far the greatest strategist I've ever met in my life. Everything to him is about strategy. He is so good at it. And he'll deliver the strategy, talk about the merits of the strategy. And I once said to him after a presentation, I said, look, I don't say this to counter what you did. I want you to just think about the question. How do you know if people have embraced your strategy? His comment was, it's the strategy. I said, yet would you agree that some people will agree with your strategy wholeheartedly and some will disagree with it and everything in between? He goes, oh, he was just stunned. And I said, well, how do you make sure that they are embracing this? And he said, I've never thought of it. Now, the reason I suggest that is because I knew some of his underlings, some of his leaders and employees disagreed with the strategy. We even had in one of our group sessions somebody say, we don't even have a corporate strategy. Someone in the room goes, yes, we do. It's published on our website. Isn't that interesting? How things get interpreted differently. So I said to him, after your next strategy session, say, so when you hear this strategy, what are you going to do to successfully implement in your business area? So that meeting commenced. Leaders struggled. His jaw hits the ground. He looks at me afterwards and he said, I am stunned. I said, right. You were assuming they were putting everything into action because the strategy is so well thought out, and it is. But to execute strategy, you've got to have knowledge, you've got to have skills, you've got to have behavioral attributes such as confidence, conviction. What's your comfort with your leaders coaching to that? He said, not much. So I bring up these examples to show that we can't continue to compartmentalize things separate. We have to find creative ways to integrate some of these leadership and learning strategies. Thank you for listening to another episode of Coaching Conversations by Tim Hagan and Progress Coaching. Now, our company is always coming out with new and innovative solutions to help leaders coach their employees. And recently, we just created a new service called Coach to You, where leaders can pick and choose topics and assign 7 to 21 day programs for employees to learn and, more importantly, apply actions and then reflect and share what they're going to do going forward as a result of the learning. It's called Coach to You. We're literally bringing coaching to your employees. If you're intrigued, we'll have a link in each one of our episodes where you can get more information. And again, thank you so much for listening to another episode.